Every outdoor dad knows this cycle. All winter, you're dreaming about camping, and by spring, you're testing gear, making plans, and convincing yourself this is the year you're finally going to get outside more. And then summer shows up. The kids are home, schedules explode, and suddenly adventure season becomes logistics season. Durable dads, brothers from other mothers, and sisters from different misters, thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to do something I normally do about twice a year, a Dadventure Kit update. Not because gear is the point, because every season teaches you something. What worked, what didn't, what got used, and what sat in the bin all year. And honestly, this year's update feels a little different. My daughter is graduating high school, work is picking up, summer is right around the corner, and the biggest gear investment I made this year wasn't camping gear at all. It was keeping Lou, the Forerunner, alive. Because without the adventure rig operational, you might as well pack away the rest of the gear. So before we really get into it, let's talk about where this season actually stands. Okay, before I start puking the contents of these bins out onto this table, there's a couple of points I'd like to make first. Okay, let's start with the table itself. I love it. I picked this up last year, and it's been my trusty companion through just about every adventure. It's super handy to have. Speaking of that, I'd love to have a second one. I encountered a smaller one about yay big, maybe 3 feet wide by 2 feet. That's height adjustable. That thing was beautiful. I love it. Way better for maybe being a cooking station. However, these are essentially plastic, right? Which means you put a camp stove on it, especially of the propane variety, or even the BioLite for that fact, Melt City. Now, I haven't figured out how to get around that quite yet. There might be a little hack or some kind of stand that would work that would help dissipate the heat so we're not having this problem. But that's next up. Perhaps even an episode later. Anyways, let me get to the second one, the bins. Okay, so what this looks like, I know that says Christmas on it, but it's kind of Christmas to me. Let me explain. Okay, so I have all my miscellaneous, and this includes camping gear and whatever, some of that, and day trip kind of gear and adventure gear all in here. What I don't use, that's kind of the daily, of the fishing variety especially, is in here. And it's spread out again in the day pack, which is not on the table. But you've seen that before. So really I have a 2-bin pack system. The camping gear is all kind of packed away. That's another thing entirely. If the simple tarp shelter won't cover it, it's a day or an overnight trip, then yeah, that stuff comes out. However, I probably need one more bin because I've seen the error of my ways, because you can't have enough bins or enough storage. But I would, however, like to separate into fishing, day trip or light overnight, like survival bin, and then one more bin entirely for extended period traveling. So if we're traveling someplace or camping for 2 or 3 days, that would be its own bin, and the stuff that wouldn't necessarily be in my everyday carry, my bug out bag or bin or whatever. Anyways, enough of that talk. Let's get on to seeing what's actually in there and what would actually make it into my day adventure or overnight kit. So if you've been following the channel, especially this season, you already know that life has handed me a bit of a transition. My overland rig needed some work. Life is just needing more attention. Work for me has, picked up. And like most dads, I'm trying to fit adventure into the spaces that real life leaves behind. because that's really what Durable Dads is about. It's not chasing some perfect outdoor lifestyle, not buying all the gear, well, most of the gear. We also can't pretend we have unlimited time either. Mostly, we're just figuring out how to spend a little more time outside while everything else is still happening. The goal here isn't having the perfect setup. It's about having a setup that works when the opportunities show up. And honestly, that's what my whole kit is about. Not necessarily the gear per se, more about readiness, making it easier for myself to say yes when opportunities appear. So, with that in mind, let's crack open the Dadventure Kit and see what actually made the cut for summer 2026. My, what do we have here? Well, it appears that this is the EDC day trip, even a light overnight or an emergency overnight kit. What do we have? All right. So going through it one by one, the day pack. Okay, that's going to come with me. It's got a 3-liter bladder in it, which is awesome. So that's the extra water. Okay, so in attached to this, where the heck did I put it? Right here is a life straw too. So if you need water, have to have it. Can only find a creek or a pond or a puddle. You have the extra water if you run out. So overnight, okay, and everything can fit into this, okay? So what do we have? Now, the bin's going to probably come with me, but if I'm packing out and I'm nowhere near the vehicle, here's what we got. Okay, so inside this pack, you'll find the tarp, which is waterproof, and you can make all kinds of structure or cover with that and not freeze yourself off. A pillow, because it doesn't take up much space, and those are kind of fancy dancy, and some cordage, okay, extra cordage. In here, more cordage, okay, some jute, some snaps, some more cord. There's paracord, obviously, some bungee cords, and some tent stakes to help build a shelter if needs be. A rescue sheet, which can be a blanket if you need it to be. Of course, a flashlight, a multi-tool, fire starting kit, ferro rod and such. My other knife, bear spray, because it's awesome to have. Okay, the bio light's in there because you're going to need a cup of coffee. And or we can add the grill in there. That's a little bit heavy. But again, that is my mess kit, which could sit on top of the BioLite just fine too, and cook some dinner, boil some water. Bear spray, because vibes. Med kit, because yeah. A candle and a small folding stove, if that becomes necessary. Again, these are emergency upon emergency. And again, EDC, because you could break down on the side of the road and or be out on an adventure and want to cook something and or find it incredibly beautiful and it's getting a little darker and you don't want to disturb the scene, so you're going to stay. Okay, smart to have a shovel, absolutely. My more utility knife right here, which also has a ferro rod built in to the base. Just use the back of the knife as a striker. Very nice. Okay, and a hatchet. If you have a knife and a hatchet, okay, then you're fairly set. Now, additions to this, what's coming, and I'll recap it at the end, but one thing that's really missing from this is a decent folding saw. Okay, if you have a knife, a hatchet, or an axe, but a hatchet and a folding saw, you can almost dispense with the hatchet, although it's nice. You could baton if you had to, and dig yourself a pit. or help you dig into structure. There's also a saw built into this too. Although a good, like a Laplander or something like that, is going to be awesome in just about every situation for processing wood or clearing space, whatever. Okay, so this is bare minimum day adventure kind of stuff. Of course, sounds like a cooler or whatever else, for sure. But you know what? This is the basics. Okay, this is what's going in the future, just plain kit, right? The EDC kit. Now, let me give you a further expanded view of what I would take with if I was going multi-day. Okay, next. What I found is that every season teaches you something. Sometimes what stays out is just as important as what stays in your kits. Some gear sounds great. Some gear looks absolutely useful. Some gear solves problems you don't actually have. And some gear just never gets used. So if I'm carrying something because I think I should instead of because I actually use it, it probably doesn't belong here. Ding, more stuff. Okay, so what you see before you is something if I'm going for 2 days to 5 days, I'll be taking with me. Okay, not everything is here. Honorable mention in this space, the imaginary blank space is my tent, the coolers, and the Coleman stove, which is all nicely packed away, and I didn't really feel like, disturbing it quite yet until this becomes important. And it will be soon. So anyways, we're going to be taking more water with us. You'll be processing your own water by boiling as you go. Again, the life straws will be coming with. So all of the stuff you saw before is obviously coming with. In the Dadventure kind of EDC kit. And then the more hardcore camping kit obviously contains the second rung stuff. Okay, so from last time, a couple of honorable mentions. Toilet paper. Unsung hero. Have 1 roll, maybe 2. What these are is they're little freeze-dried claws. These are for pets, which happen to be a lot cheaper. But you know what? You just soak it in water, boom, you have a disposable cloth to work with for cleaning yourself or cleaning anything. Have it. Obviously, more than one way of starting fire. Okay, so there, in addition, there'd be another couple of lighters. More than my second string headlamp, there'd also be, my good H4. There'd be probably another knife. More cooking dishes, right? And in addition to my hatchet, the axe would come out for splitting or processing more wood. Yes, your saw, your bush saw. Oh, yes. And this foldable bush saw, which can, do a whole bunch bigger wood for sure. But my assumption is you're going to be either packing it with you or maybe a chainsaw if you're going to be doing a lot of wood, multi-day for cooking. If it's for cooking, light, everything else. Okay, so one thing that's missing from this picture, I'm going to go grab it when I do the fishing gear, is my little stool. The folding stool doesn't take up a lot of space. Obviously not comfortable as big camping chairs, but again, that's something that would come with every single time. I love it. All right, so that breaks you down. If you want to see the tent, check out the Costco tent video. I've got another couple of smaller tents, a 2-man and a 4-man, and some really cool other guys that are total gearheads that I could borrow other tents from, and more tarps. Okay, now let's get to something that's nearer and dearer to my heart, fishing. Now, before I go on my tangent about what's still missing in my wish list, let's talk about the biggest upgrade of the season thus far. The biggest gear investment I made this year wasn't camping gear. It was keeping that old girl alive. Timing belt, water pump, cam seals, tie rods, ball joints, alignments, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. The whole adventure season started underneath a 4Runner for me. And honestly, that's probably the most durable dads thing I've done, well, this year, because transportation is capability. The best gear in the world doesn't matter if you can't get to the trailhead. Okay, before I fully run away, that blank space is not where you're going to write your name. That blank space is for water filtration system of the bigger variety, a more complete system that can get water. If you don't have a source of potable water, you'd probably want to think that through first. But if you don't, something to render more water faster rather than just boiling it. More camping dishes. Those are definite things that are on my horizon. I want to expand the Kabilka, maybe get a cast iron Dutch oven, the whole deal, maybe even a tripod. So imagine that beautiful pile right there. Anyways, back to fishing. This is the place where my shopping list goes. First and foremost, my fishing license. Right after that, those damn V-mounts for the kayaks. A new kayak paddle. A folding bush saw. Another camping shelter tarp, or two. A full-on water filtration system. Those mystical, magical fall raven pants you keep hearing about. Axe and hatchet sheaths. A dedicated foraging bag. More camping cookware. And, camping dishes. The list just keeps going on and on, my friends. But the low-hanging fruit, day trips and fishing, are priorities. A lot of this list is deferred purchases. Most of it got delayed because they're bad ideas. They got delayed because, priorities. So here's my fishing kit. Some stuff that I've stashed in there. Now, the reason why I keep talking fishing and you haven't seen any fishing on my channel as of yet is because fishing is one of those things that I just never seem to have time for, even though I do. And it's funny. So what I've done is I've promised myself I'm going to get out fishing more this year. And again, that's part of the whole saying yes to. I keep getting invited. The opportunities is there, but life keeps getting in the way. So I'm publicly outing that, and I'm shaming myself into getting my fishing license and going, because I have no more excuses, or soon will not. So, but fishing trip, we're going to assume that the EDC is going to probably sit in the 4Runner because it's EDC, okay? And then your fishing kit would come with you, and a cooler, obviously. My buddies all have a much better fishing setup than me, but whatever, it is what it is. Also, my day pack would probably come with me, just because, hey, what if I'm out there and I like it and I just want to stay? So the day pack is the overnight. Either if I don't want to stay in the vehicle, which is possible, I could literally just overnight, put a tarp up overnight, and I have enough water to probably make coffee, or at least not die of dehydration. Plus, I've got the life straw. My fishing rods, obviously, which have new line on them from earlier this year. Those need to go with camping. Actually, you know what? Those need to actually go into the spare someplace, because they work. But if you're roasting hot dogs or marshmallows, they don't have a handle, and heat transfers and you burn. So they're not maybe the best thing ever. The off, well, you can imagine that one bottle sits in here, one bottle sits in the EDC, one bottle sits in there, and then probably some spares sit in the big because you can't have enough off. Now, on my wish list for this is, I've mentioned it before, but it's a system that is an electronic and it keeps the bugs away. I'll find out more about that. I can't remember what it is for right now. And of course, the little stool would probably come with me. Although, and yes, I have better fishing knives, cutting knives. So I'd probably have something better than the stool for sitting on for long periods. If I'm fishing, that one's just not going to cut it. Plus, I have no place for a beverage. So, but again, this is I have enough to start with, and it probably doesn't need a bin. So this will be my EDC bin, and I will get a fishing bin, and then that's how I'll probably rank this. But yes, I'm set up. Yes, there's a whole bunch of things that need to be added to this, but I won't know until I start getting back fishing again in a much more serious manner. If any of you guys obviously see something that's missing, feel free to shoot me a comment. But really the main point of doing this is to tell you that's on the horizon. That's one of my rods. But also to get myself in there, because it's a great way to just do a crime of opportunity and get myself back into thinking, my kid can come at any time. Just getting back out there and building that into my lifestyle, because sometimes we need something to remind us to do that. All right, we're at number 8 on the field notes count. So, 8-1. Here's something I've noticed. Every spring, I tell myself the same thing. This year, we're going to get outside more. More camping, more adventures, more time outdoors, period. Then, ding, life shows up. Work, family events, graduation schedules, domestic servitude, yard work, all the normal stuff. And honestly, you know what, that's okay, because 8-2, the outdoors isn't the full realm of my identity. It's a pretty big chunk of it, and it's also a direction I'm trying to move in as often as I can, and hopefully drag my family along for the ride, and hope my passions and skills rub off a little bit. 8-3. The goal isn't becoming an outdoor or bushcraft or prep guru. The Intertubes already has plenty of those already. The goal here is making room for more outdoor experiences. And that's really what my whole kit is fully about. 8-4. Gear is only half the equation. The other half is readiness, making it easier to say yes when opportunities to go outdoors show up. 8-5. Actually saying yes. Adventure season doesn't start with a camping trip. Sometimes it starts in the garage. Sometimes it starts in the driveway. Sometimes it starts underneath a 4Runner. But it always starts before the adventure itself. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you gratuitous gear footage montage. All right, so there you have it. The Dadventure Kit version 2026. Not perfect, certainly not complete, but it's just ready enough. Because summer's a funny thing. By June, we're excited for it. By August, we're exhausted by it. By September, we miss it. And by winter, we're already planning for the next one. That's the cycle. For me, the goal this year is simple. Get outside as often as I can. Spend meaningful time with people I care about. Do a little camping, maybe a little fishing, and see where the season takes me. So remember, dads, durability isn't about having the perfect setup. Well, until you can. It's about being ready when the opportunities show up. So, if this video helped or gave you some good ideas, throw me a like, comment on the essentials that are in your kit, and consider subscribing, because we're just getting geared up. Haha. Anywho, here's me keeping the coffee hot and trying to become the right kind of yes man. Peace out, Scout.